Now, it's emerged tonight that the Labour-fronted Better Together campaign has appointed the advertising agency M&C Saatchi to help revamp its efforts to achieve a no vote in the Scottish independence referendum. The agency is closely associated with the Conservative Party and was behind the Labour Isn't Working ad campaign in the run-up to the 1979 general election. Our Home Affairs correspondent, Simon Israel, is here. So tell me what more you found out.
Well, come June the 10th next week, it'll be 100 days to go until the referendum. And the Better Together campaign, in many eyes, has been struggling, if not losing ground. So tonight, the announcement that the Conservatives' favourite PR agency, the Saatchis, is coming on board to, in effect, reinvigorate what some see as a rather tired campaign. Now, of course, this is the agency that gave us the Labour Isn't Working poster in the 1979 election, and a series of posters portraying Gordon Brown, in effect, as weak in the election 4 years ago. But the aim, I'm told now, is to reach out to potentially mostly men in Scotland, working class vote, which is essentially most of them Labour voters. And these are thought to be those who are going to be targeted. Now, Labour brought in the big guns of Gordon Brown and John Reid, that's right. But they now are looking for some way of reaching out to that very core vote that they think may well go yes.
And what's been the reaction?
Well, the Yes campaign, said tonight, is in effect rubbing its proverbial hands with glee. A spokesman told us tonight that the fact that the No campaign has hired Margaret Thatcher's favourite PR people, who helped usher in 18 years of Tory government that the people of Scotland rejected, shows just how out of touch they have become. Well, of course, we wait to see whether there's unanimity amongst Labour, Lib Dems and the Tories in this latest move. But there's not a lot of time left to put the brakes on the momentum of the Yes campaign.
Simon, thank you very much. Well, I'm joined now from Edinburgh by the writer and journalist David Torrance. Well, David, the Tories are not exactly popular in Scotland, are they? I mean, will this give the SNP more ammo?
Well, they certainly think it does, and as Simon said, they've already sounded the Thatcher klaxon. Usually any excuse is welcome to do that. But I think that only has limited mileage. I mean, most Scottish voters, most undecided voters, will not be studying who's behind an ad campaign, but they will notice that the ads, which will presumably be rolled out as of next Monday with 100 days to go until polling day.
But is the hiring of an expensive ad agency in itself a bit of a sign of desperation, do you think?
It's certainly true that Better Together has had a rough few months, but of late, I think there's a sense that momentum has been moving back in their direction. And it seems entirely logical to me that they would hire an agency for, as I said, the last 100 days of the campaign. And it also coincides with a reframing of the no message. Until a few days ago, Better Together wasn't very keen on using the word no because it appeared overly negative. But they've now reframed it in sort of fluffier terms. So I'm voting no. And no thanks. And presumably we'll see more of that from Saatchi next week.
And the SNP obviously are saying that M&C Saatchi are synonymous with the Westminster political establishment. Do you think that conventional ads at this stage in the campaign are a bit of a waste of money, or will it be money well spent?
They'll certainly see it as money well spent, and presumably it's quite a bit of money. It's very difficult to quantify the impact of this sort of thing, but generally speaking, I get the impression that the advertising is only useful if you have a strong message to sell. You know, it's not a campaign in itself. And I'm sure that the Yes campaign are playing guilt by association, saying, you know, this firm is irredeemably associated with the Conservatives. But it's a dangerous game to play, because as Better Together have already been tweeting, both the Scottish Government and the SNP used another agency called Family, who have also done campaigns for UKIP and the Conservatives. So it doesn't lead anywhere particularly useful. Difficult to quantify, as I say, but with 100 days to go as of next week, all guns will be blazing from both sides of the campaign.
David Torrance, thank you very much for joining me.